Hello, I'm Professor Brad Lettner, and this video lecture is about your speech rubric. The delivery of your speech, how I grade it, is recorded in the rubric, and that should give you a great indication of my expectations of what makes a good speech. So first, a speech is comprised of three main components. What does the audience hear? It is public speaking, so obviously your voice is the primary tool for what the audience hears. Second, what does the audience see? It very much affects how the audience receives what they're hearing. And third, what does the audience understand? And this is the most important. You can make several errors in a delivery, but if overall you pull off a valuable speech that has your audience leaving with the purposes of the speech satisfied, it's still overall a good speech. So let's break those down just a little bit. First, what does the audience hear? The foremost, most basic thing that I grade about what the audience hears is the volume of your voice. That is important in a video speech. If you're far away from your camera, you must speak much louder. If you're close to your camera, you must speak softer. Having the correct volume for the size of the room and the environment is the first thing that I grade, the easiest thing for me to grade, that the audience can both hear you clearly because you're loud enough, but is not forced to recoil because you're too loud. Luckily, on a video, you can always adjust your volume on your computer. Not so much when you're sitting in an auditorium. The second thing that the audience hears, and again, very, very basic, is the use of fillers. The famous, so like this other thing, like, or the drawn out, and the next thing we'll talk about. During this course, I hope to help you hear those fillers in your own speech and eliminate them. Once you start listening for them in your own speeches and those of others, you can't avoid them. Very famous speakers lean on those as a crutch. We're going to try to eliminate them. And finally, what the audience hears, there's a series of advanced techniques. You'll find them listed in chapter 10 of your textbook. The vocal variety, the inflection, the pitch, lowering your volume, but not so that you can't hear it, and raising your voice for important topics. Also the pacing, how fast and how slow do you speak? Is that varied? Is it correct? But all of those advanced topics, I lump into one grade on your rubric because this is public speaking 1, beginning public speaking. You'll want to work on all of those to go on into a life of politics or giving speeches for a living. The second thing that we're going to talk about is what does the audience see? One of the first things and the hardest things in the video is eye contact. I have to put a little dot next to the camera on my computer. And I still find when I watch my videos that I've either looked at the screen like I'm doing right now, and as you watch me, you see me looking down. I'm looking straight into my own face. And that's a common trap to fall into with video speaking. You look at your monitor rather than looking at the camera. And looking at the camera is what gives the audience the view of having eye contact. Second is your posture. The audience sees whether you're straight onto the camera, whether your movements are purposeful, and whether you're projecting a posture of confidence, or if you're slumped, or if you're a little too casual, just leaning like, hey, let's just have a conversation here. You're going to look for something that's both relaxed, confident, and professional. And finally, gestures, again, in the video speeches that you'll be giving during this class, a little difficult, but it's still important to get your hand up there. Give the audience a focus point to help underline your main points. It's easier when it's 1, 2, and 3. The rest, a little harder, but I trust that you will find a way to let your hands support your voice. And then finally, understanding. Now you'll find a great discussion of the use of introductions and conclusions in Chapter 7. I grade very strongly on the introduction and conclusion of the speech. You can get some things wrong in the middle, but if your introduction is strong and your conclusion is strong, it wraps it up for the audience in ways that are very, very powerful. Your introduction should gain the audience's attention, establish a clear purpose for why you're speaking to them, establish why what you're saying is important, why should they bother listening, and then establish some credibility of why they should listen to you, and finally, preview the main points, give them a roadmap of what you're going to tell them. For your conclusion, summarize the main points, tell them what you just told them. If you can, tie it into your introduction. That's a powerful technique. And then finally, you should have a strong attention-getting strategy at the end to put an exclamation mark on the speech, to stick the landing, to use a gymnastics term. And then finally, for what the audience understands, how was the overall effect of your speech? If you'll focus on these three things, what the audience hears, what the audience sees, and what the audience understands, then we're most of the way towards understanding how to deliver an effective public speech.